Welcome back to another episode of Harmonious at Lunch, the show that fuels your business success. I'm Brandon Gano, your host and guide through the world of harmonious business growth. Today, we're unlocking powerful strategies with industry experts to help your business thrive. If you're a business owner, entrepreneur, or executive, you are in the right place. Join me and our incredible guests today on the journey to clarity, growth, and success. It is time to revolutionize your approach to business. Let's dive in with another episode of Harmonious at Lunch. Welcome back into some more bite-sized business advice. We got an episode today and a topic I think you're going to like. It's about being lazy, being a lazy CEO. Who doesn't want to be that, right? It sounds amazing. We'll see if it's all it's cracked up to be, but I have an amazing guest with me today to unpack this, who is a seasoned entrepreneur and helping people grow massive businesses and grow them even bigger by being lazy. So let's dive in. Dr. Jim Schleckser, welcome to the show and thank you for being here.
Hey, Brandon, thanks for having me.
So I am honored to have a doctor on my show. I know you joked about that before we started recording, but it's great to have you here. But this topic kind of catches me off guard, right? You put in the lazy CEO, then I check out your website and you're working with businesses that are 20 million plus, and the math isn't adding up, right? So tell me, what is the lazy CEO?
Yep. And just for the record, it's not that kind of doctor. So if you've got a mole you need looked at, I'm the wrong guy.
Different show. We can't.
Wrong guy. So the whole idea here is that, you can apply labor hours to a problem of scaling a business, but the problem is as you grow your business and your hours expand, there's a limit. And all of a sudden you stop the growth of your company. And that might happen at 800,000 in profit, 900, a million, 2 million, 3. There's some number at which you go, there's not enough of you to go around. So how the heck do you scale to the next level and do it in a rational amount of time? And the answer is this idea of being a lazy CEO. And really, maybe the other way to say it is only working on the thing that makes the most economic impact on your business and spending as little time as humanly possible on everything else. And, what happens is, the things expand to fill your time and then plus, and now we're working 80 hours a week. I think we shared earlier, I was dealing with a CEO and she was at 80 hours a week. And I'm like, okay, what do you do when your business doubles? And her head almost exploded. She goes, I have no idea what to do. And the answer is you've got to learn how to be strategically lazy, change your focus, get the same results in less time, and then you can scale your business. So that may be where a lot of people are stuck, is they're peanut buttering their time across the business kind of uniformly, hoping for a result instead of kind of massive focus on one or two things.
Yeah, I mean, I see this a lot with our clients and just talking to CEOs in general. And I'm curious to get your perspective. So when someone comes to you and they're in that 80-hour a week mode, or even if it's 40, but they don't feel like they're effective and productive. And then you ask them that question, the doubling question, the dreaded question, right?
Yeah, right.
What leads up to that? Like, what are the things that they're typically doing that immediately you just know, all right, you got to get that off your plate?
Yeah. So, let's say they're working more. Well, first thing is to look at where they're spending your time. You're right on that. And let's assume for the second, it's a talent problem, because that's one of the areas a problem will exist in. You have the wrong people around you. And the answer is they're diving into somebody else's business. I mean, I remember one CEO we worked with, and he was closing the books every month. It was a big business. And I was like, why are you doing that? You've got to get a new CFO. You shouldn't be touching any of that stuff. He goes, oh, no, he's okay. He's like a B, maybe B minus. He's okay. He's great. Well, I met the guy and I'm like, no, man, he's a D minus. Like, you've got to replace him. And shockingly, he went and got somebody at the right talent level. And boom, he was spending no time on closing the books. He could spend his time on generating revenue, which is what his particular gift was. And off you go. So diving in and covering effectively for someone else's job, sure sign that, you need to refocus your time. Another one is what I call stuck in a role. And Unfortunately, I've done this myself where, I lose a VP of sales or something. I go, well, I'm pretty good at sales. I'll just cover the role for a while. Well, the question we ask is, so Jim, while you're being the VP of sales, who's being the CEO? You go, yikes, nobody. And so basically for the cost of a VP of sales, you can get a CEO. That's the way you should think about this, right? So any of those are real reasons to say I've got a constraint Well, I'm not spending my time appropriately, right? I'm spending it doing somebody else's job, or I'm stuck in a role, maybe because I like it and I'm good at it. We find that particularly with CEOs that come out of the sales job. They love that you slap that CEO business card down when you're selling. It's awesome, but an ego gratifying. And they don't quite know what it looks like to be just the CEO and not CEO and salesperson. So those are a couple of real sure signs that they got an issue on their hands.
Yeah, that makes complete sense. And I'm curious in those situations where, they started the business, most likely they're the founder, or at least they've been doing this for a long time. Maybe they're a partner and they're really good at sales, like you said, or they really like it. And now they have to make that evolution and transition to be just CEO at a certain point. How do you help people understand the difference between their gifts and talents and also what it is required to be a true 8-figure, 9-figure CEO and making that transition?
Right. And the where we talk about, and this relates to the lazy CEO thing, is there's really three hats they should be, which is where they should be spending their time. One is their business model. So, do you have a high quality business model? And there's a couple of factors like recurring revenue. We love to see recurring revenue in a business model. Margin, good gross margins are important. Low capital intensity, doesn't require a lot of capital to do what you're doing. It has those three things, plus maybe one other, which is what we call a mafia offer, meaning it's so good, people have to say yes to you. It's like a growth engine. I'll give you an example. We've got a software company we work with that sells into the nonprofit space, and it helps them raise money. And his deal is, he says, if I don't help you raise 10 times more money than my software cost in the first year, it's free. You go like, I'd be crazy to say no to that. And the answer is that's growing a lot of business. So business model's one. Talent is the second one. You want to have A players all around you, which are people that not only do the job, but do above the job. Now you have to give them a little breathing room to let them do that. That's part of the problem, is because we know every job. We did every job. So like I look at you doing whatever engineering and I go, oh, I don't like the way Brendan's doing that. I could do it better. And that's a sure killer. You got to say, look, Brendan's at 70%, and I'll get him to 80 and 90 and 10 by coaching him. But every minute I don't have to spend is a win. And then the third is processes, sort of how we do what we do. And so the leverage for a CEO is improve the business model, improve the talent, improve the processes. You didn't hear go sell something, go engineer something, go market something. That's not what we do anymore as CEOs. And so when we're stuck in the doing, we're missing the opportunity for these really, really high leverage pieces of work.
Mm. Yeah, it makes so much sense. So let's walk through a potentially real life example. And you don't have to do this. You can give me another example, but you did mention the woman who's working 80
Yep.
hours a week. So let's say someone comes to you in that very situation. What is the first thing you're doing with her in her company to get them on this path to be a lazy CEO?
So you have to help people realize, like it's like AA. First, you got to realize you got a problem, right? um, and then not turn it over to God is their next one. We say, let us help you a little bit. We're not God, but we actually have them do a time tracker for a couple of weeks
Mm.
and look at where they're allocating their time. And then we talk about the leverage, because the three high leverage roles are designing your business, bringing on and coaching great talent, and exiting bad talent, and improving your processes. And if you're spending time not in those places, it's low value work almost exclusively. So we go, all right, you spent 5% of your time in high value roles. We need to see that at 30. How do we make that happen? What has to go overboard to get there? Now, the trick we use when we get there is we call a not do list. So everybody's got a to-do list. We take that, we rank order it in economic impact to the business. What's the biggest bang, second biggest, third bag? And that's $1 million, that's a $500,000, that's a whatever. Halfway up the list, you make a line. Everything below the line, 3 Ds. Delegate it to somebody else, defer it into the future, or don't do. So don't do, I'm literally going to cross it off my list, never do it. And we all have done to-do lists. It feels really good to cross stuff off your list. It's funny. It doesn't matter if you actually did anything or not. It still feels good. It's wild. The second is defer into the future. It'll stay on the list, but I know I'm not doing anything about it. And you'd be amazed at how many issues you're like, oh my God, it's so important. I got to work on it right now. And all of a sudden, 2 weeks later, you're like, I guess that wasn't so important. And now it's gone and you have to deal with it. The third is delegate. Now that's what the scary part is. People really worry about, like, how do I delegate? What does it look like? So the first thing is want to give them permission. If somebody is 70% as good as you, delegate it. And we do 70% because of that problem of entrepreneurs have done every job. They're really good. They're special human beings, right? So if you say, well, they've got to be as good as I am. I go, well, look, dude, if they were as good as you are, they'd be running the company and not you. So, or running their own company. 70% good enough, delegate it. And then you delegate progressively. Hey, go look into this, check it out. Let me know what you think. I'll decide. Up to, hey, check it out, figure out a plan. If I do, and tell me what you want to do. If I don't say no, just go do it. Up to what we think of when we hear delegation. Hey, Brandon, take this and it's all yours. I don't want to hear what you did. That's scary as heck. But you don't go there unless you have a super high confidence in the person, like you really trust them. The risk of the decision is not a sink the company kind of issue. Like it may be risky, but not like rebrand the whole company. I'll tell you what, I would never delegate that one super high, right? And then the third is reversibility. And Jeff Bezos talks about one-way doors and two-way doors. It's the same idea. If we go through this door and we can't come back, or not without spending a lot of money and time, we go really carefully on delegating those. If it's a two-way door, we screwed up, go back through the door, try again. Delegate like crazy because, no blood, no foul. Why not, right? So those are some thoughts about how do you figure out if you're spending your time in the right place, and then how do you make space by getting rid of the stuff you shouldn't be spending time on so you can spend more on the things you should be spending time on.
How much of that delegation piece is fear of your own lack of management? Meaning, if I'm the CEO and I've never delegated, and I say, hey, Jim, here's my process, here's everything how I do this, I need you to go get this done. Is it ever like, wow, I don't want to be put on the spot that I didn't train Jim, or I didn't effectively build that process the right way, and it's going to make me look bad or make me look like a poor leader? Do you ever run into that with people?
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of a confidence thing. I mean, if you go, I usually lead with, hey, here's the deal. I make lots of mistakes. I'm sure you're going to find a ton of mistakes in what I put together, and I'm really hoping you do, because then you can make it better. You start there, like, hey, Jim, I found 4 mistakes in what you did. Awesome. Hope you fixed them. I mean, as opposed to, I'm stupid, I'm dumb, I'm horrible. You're still the CEO. You're still running the company. Like, it doesn't change things. So I think that's a confidence in yourself issue more than anything else. Like, can you take making a mistake? And that's a really limiting behavior, by the way. These
Yeah.
people that are like control freaky, or we call control enthusiasts, right?
That's much nicer, much more politically
Much
correct.
nicer. They're afraid of making a mistake. That's why they do it. And if you can gain confidence, like, mistakes happen and that's okay, as long as it's not horrible. You can not know everything and it'll be all right. But if you need to know everything, you will never grow your company to a significant scale. If you're in every detail, not happening.
Yeah, it's where that question comes back in, right? Like, you're working 80 hours. If you double, what are you going to do? And it's just simple math equation. So, um, on the backside of that, so we go through the 3Ds. We've
Yep.
delegated, we've eliminated, and now we're focused on the things that we are doing. What is the next phase? Because I'm curious. I don't know how far along you are with this person who's at 80 hours a week, but once she gets through that, let's say she's down to 40 hours. Are they still the most productive and effective? Focused is probably a better word, 40 hours. What do you then refine her focus on to say, I know you mentioned those 3 areas, but what exactly is she doing in those 3 areas to really get to that next level in her business?
So then you go, what is the point of constraint? What is stopping this business from being twice as big or twice as profitable or serving twice as many clients as you do right now? Let's figure out what that is. Or another question you can ask to get at is, if I had a magic wand and I could tap it on the business and one thing changed, it would make it a significantly better business. What is it? I go, if I could recruit, for example, I talked to a guy the other day. He said, if I could hire, like tomorrow, 40 factory workers, I've got orders and business all ready to go. I'm like, okay, so recruiting is your point of constraint. Let's figure out how to jack up your recruiting process so that you can hire as many people as you want. And then let's make it a sales problem. Now, let's just go down that path. So we dig in, maybe he's got the wrong leader. It's a talent problem, or maybe the methodology they're using is wrong. It's a systems problem or process problem. He goes in, he fixes those things, pulls back out. We're recruiting like crazy now. All of a sudden, the constraint's going to move. Now the plant is full. I've got an excess of human beings. I've got as many people as I want. Where does the constraint move to? Could be sales. Could be we don't have enough machinery now. Could be our supply chain. It depends, right? So you reanalyze the system. Okay, it moved. I got to go find where it moved to, and then I got to fix that one. Generally through people and processes. Generally, I liken it to you ever seen those guys on stage that have the plate spinning on a stick? They start with one, then two, and then all of a sudden they're running around hitting the plate. That's the point. With a wobbly plate is the point of constraint.
That's a good way to picture it. You used the analogy before. I think it was before we started recording of the garden hose, which I think is a beautiful, beautiful picture. Everyone can picture that too. This makes so much sense. And then the next question that pops in my head is really not a question, more of an observation. All these CEOs who are in the mindset of doing, they're overdoing, they're working 50, 60, 70, 80 hours plus a week. When you clear off their calendar and you say your only job now is to ask questions and look around and find constraints, how many of them can actually do that right away? Or is there still that mental clutter to think they should be doing other things and they get in their own way?
Yeah, we do give them permission to be in what we call player mode, like 25% of their time. So you are a really high impact player. So I'm not going to say never do it. I'm just saying don't get dominated by it, right? The biggest problem we run into when they go, okay, I can't do the way I used to, and I got a lot of ego gratification. I brought revenue in or design products or whatever I did. It's an ego. It's a head case problem. They're like, I don't know how I'm adding value to this company anymore. I knew it when I was selling. I knew it when I was engineering. I knew it when I was marketing. I don't know. And so they have this like crisis of confidence. Like, am I adding value? Is this what a CEO does? Is this really what my job is now? And the answer is yes, it is. And you're going to be super uncomfortable till you figure it out. But once you do, you're going to kind of own it and be really good with it. By the way, that's sort of why do we spread our time around like that? I blame the MBA programs. And I've got one, okay, so I can do this a little bit. They talk to you about stakeholders, like your employees, your supply chain, your environment, your community. You're all stakeholders that they have an interest in your business. So we go, I got this. I'm going to spread my time, 10%, 10%, 10%, 10%. Everybody gets 10%, and everybody's going to be happy that way. Well, that's exactly the opposite of focus, which is how you create results. So that's why they end up running around like a chicken with their head cut off, trying to hit all their interest groups and keep everybody happy, as opposed to, I know you 10 aren't going to be real happy, but I'm going to focus on these two for a little bit, and off we go.
Yeah, I'd be curious to hear how many Fortune 500 CEOs have MBAs. I would assume it's not the majority.
Probably not. No. One time I saw there was a lot of liberal art majors, surprisingly. You'd think they'd actually, number one degree is engineers. I did do analysis of this. But then liberal arts is pretty far up there, maybe surprisingly. But you think it'd be like finance or something, right?
Yeah, no, that's interesting. But it takes a unique breed, right? But it takes somebody who's willing to go that way. I mean, I'm sure the very simple piece to get over that feeling of I'm not doing enough is look at the financials. Like, hey, here's what it's going to look like when you do nothing, air quotes. Here's what it looks like what you're doing now. And that 10 million bottom line increase looks a lot better, doesn't it?
People talk about these scalloped growth curves. Like you go up and grow, then you go flat for a little while, then you grow. And when you're flat, the point of constraint is controlling your business. That's what's going on. That's why the curve looks the way it does. And you don't get to grow again until you figure out where the point of the constraint is and open it up. So that, like, would you rather have this like scallopy, or would you have a nice steady upward trajectory? And give it 5 or 10 years, and the steady upward trajectory is going to crush the little scallopy curve, right?
Absolutely. No, there's a lot of wisdom in this conversation. I appreciate you stopping by, Jim. Where can people learn more about you and what you got going on with the CEO project?
You can go to theceoproject.com, or you can send me an email at jim@theceoproject, and we'll get right back to you. Of course, the website's got all the cool stuff, and you can have fun there if you want to.
That's awesome. And you mentioned you have a podcast too. You host a podcast?
I do have a podcast called the Lazy CEO Podcast. Yeah, the Lazy CEO Podcast, and we talk about some of these kinds of issues with leaders and consultants, and at various points of constraint. But yeah, try to have some fun with it.
That's awesome. I love it. I appreciate you coming by here. I can't let you go though without the most important question. So we believe at What If the powerful questions get powerful answers, hence the obnoxious question mark behind my head. But that being said, I want to know what you would want the listener to ask themselves in order to figure out either where their constraint is, what's holding them back, or maybe how to be the lazy CEO in their business. What's the powerful question you want them to take away from this episode so that they can get that powerful answer?
Got it. And I thought it was just your Spanish heritage. You had an upside down question mark. It's the question we talked about. What is stopping you from doubling your business? If you can answer that question and then start working on whatever the answer to that question is, you are a long ways home towards actually making it happen. So and it's funny, I'll ask it of CEOs. I go, my VP of marketing will never make it, and she's hanging on for dear life. And my CFO, he's probably gonna get upgraded, and I need this and this and this. I'm like, great list. Go work on that stuff. Forget everything else and work on that. And you'll be surprised at the results.
I love it. And it sounds like, just from, if I heard you correctly, keep asking the same question over and over.
Oh yeah. Once you double, you get to ask it again. But if I said, what would it take to 4X your business? I'd freak them out. So I don't want to do that.
Yes. Too much right off the bat, right on the first date. We can't do that.
Yep.
I love it. Jim, thanks so much for being here.
Pleasure. Thank you, Brendan.
For those of you watching, listening, wherever you are, go check out theceoproject.com. All the links that Jim mentioned are down below in the show notes and description. And make sure you subscribe. We want to have you back. We put out 5 episodes a week because we're a little nuts, but also because we want to help you grow your business. And now I'm on board. I want you to be a lazy CEO and get to that next level and do the right things in your business. Let's build a more harmonious business at lunch. We'll see you on the next episode.